Right. Hello and welcome to today's webinar on escaping the limitations of the Oracle database performance tuning tools. We thank you for taking the time to attend and know that you will find this time useful. My name is Hayden and I work with UK Oracle User Group to deliver webinars such as this one. Today, we are extremely grateful to welcome both Martin Pinner and Andy Moores, our hosts, with over 30 years experience. Should you wish to get in contact with Andy or Martin, their emails will be on screen and at different points throughout the webinar. Now, before we get started, I just want to share a bit about what us as UK Oracle User Group do to support you or our community. Now, we deliver content through webinars, meetups, events, and conferences relating to all Oracle applications and technologies. So whether it's a problem with one of your technologies, a latest update, or you need more information to make a better informed decisions when deciding on your journey, we as your community can help. Being independent from Oracle means we deliver unbiased content and provide honest solutions to your problems. We throw around 50 events a year. We have over 700 organisations as members and have over 750 resources for you to use at your leisure. So whether you want to meet like-minded individuals, hear from the experts, or put forward content to help others, we are the user group for you. Just to highlight some of the upcoming events, we have our annual Oracle User Group Scotland event on the 12th of June. We'll be hosting six streams of content, including sessions on database, middleware and development, Apex, business analytics, cloud and on-prem. I've highlighted some of the sessions that may be of interest to you on the screen, but if you do want to view the full agenda, the link is available for you there at the bottom left. The 2nd of July also marks our technology summit. After the success of our northern one, we are very excited. If you do wish to speak at the event, or if you know someone that would be great to, then please do just follow the link on the screen. This is a call for content and all submissions will be considered and reviewed by our committee. If you would like to know more about membership or what other events we have coming up throughout the year, then please don't hesitate and get in contact with me. My email is in the bottom right hand of the screen and you will receive a post-event email from me that you can just respond to. Before I hand over to Martin and Andy, just a few rules for housekeeping. If you do have any questions, please do just type into the question box and they will then come through to me and I will hand those over to Martin and Andy. If you can't hear or if you can't see, please just type in I can't hear or I can't see and I will do my best to try and fix the problem as well. This webinar is being recorded and will be uploaded to both our YouTube channels and our library. A link to this will be sent out in a post-event email to all of you that attended as well, including Andy and Martin's details. Without further ado, I shall hand over to Martin now, so bear with as I change the screen.
Thank you, Hayden, for giving us the opportunity to speak. Hello, my name's Martin Pinner, and I'm the Technical Director at AP. As the name of the company suggests, we deal in all things performance. I have been tuning websites, applications, and databases, including Oracle, for close to 20 years. And I'm joined today by my colleague, Andy Moores, who in a previous life was a DBA manager at Vodafone. So what we're going to talk about today? Well, in part one of this talk, we're going to describe the Oracle tuning tools that are already available and some of their limitations. In part two, I'm going to discuss what I consider the best approach to SQL tuning in particular. And this is known as the object tuning methodology and the logical cache. And I'll explain those two terms later on in this talk. And then in part three, I'm going to bring these two threads together to describe a potential way forwards. So now I'm going to hand over to my colleague, Andy, who's going to talk about the current Oracle tuning tools. Over to you, Andy.
Thanks, Martin. As you'd expect from any major vendor, Oracle provide a very comprehensive set of tools for performance management. And I've listed some of the more important ones on the screen that you can see, StatsPack, AWR, etc. However, the Oracle tools that are available do depend on which database edition you use. And research suggests about 70% of databases actually run on standard edition. So the bulk of stuff is running on standard with the smaller tool set available. I'm sure everybody knows StatsPack. That's the tried and tested answer, common to both editions. Enterprise customers, however, can benefit from many more tools, albeit at a higher cost. I wanted to try and show pictorially where the tools sit and how they relate to each other. So as you can see on the left of the hand side of the slide, Standard Edition and Enterprise Edition both have StatsPack, which are included. I wouldn't say they're free, as nothing comes free with Oracle. Enterprise customers, however, have some more options, and through the Enterprise Manager and its optional management packs, further performance management tools are available. So the Diagnostic Pack brings in Automatic Workload Repository and Active Session History, which collect and store both instance and SQL level performance information. The Automatic Database Diagnostic Monitor then analyzes the AWR data on a regular basis and provides recommendations for tuning. The Tuning Pack, which is dependent on having the Diagnostic Pack in the first place, then brings in the SQL Tuning Advisor and the SQL Access Advisor, which between them recommend indexes, rewriting queries, materialized views, partitioning, etc., to further improve performance. They don't, however, recognize interdependencies between statements, which we'll come back to later. I hinted at the start that the better tools come at a higher cost, so I thought we should take a look at that as well. It does seem quite hard to find any published UK pricing, and the only public information I could come across was from the global price list, which I list here, and naturally, of course, that's in US dollars. I'm sure some customers get much better deals than this, but it does give some comparative numbers to think about. So you can see Standard Edition comes in at about $17,500 per processor unit, and the Enterprise Edition at $47,500 is nearly 3 times the cost of Standard Edition. And if you think you use the diagnostic and tuning packs added on, that's an additional $12,500. So to get that additional performance management functionality, that takes the price to $60,000 per processor unit, which is about 3.5 times the cost of Standard Edition. And in my book, that's a lot of money. As mentioned, the diagnostic and tuning packs do provide some very capable tools, and Oracle are very keen that customers use the packs. And though they're controlled by a startup parameter, they're both enabled by default, which undoubtedly encourages people to use them. However, that's not actually linked in any way to the licensing. And as a consequence, some customers have been caught out by using the diagnostic and tuning packs when they're not actually licensed to do so, which then brings us on to audit. We hear customers tell us that Oracle uses the audit process as a revenue generation exercise in its own right. And indeed, in a previous life, in my former role, 15 years or so, I had personal experience of having an Oracle audit, and it was quite an unpleasant exercise and took an awful long time and a lot of effort, and not something I would encourage anyone to have to go through. Whilst Oracle will say they only enforce their rights under the licensing terms, and they'll always negotiate honestly with a customer, it does mean that some customers still get a very large financial shock. In summary, these tools are good, but expensive, and they're not available to more than 70% of databases that people actually use. So wouldn't it be nice if there was an alternative? So just to finish this section, first, please do check if you have any of the packs enabled and your corresponding license position. Don't become the victim of an audit. Remember that StatsPack still provides a great deal of information, and it's common to all Oracle databases, and is of course included. If you do want to go down the road of the diagnostic and tuning packs, just be aware of the costs. They do mount up, even if you get a better deal than the prices that I presented earlier. I'll now hand back to Hayden, who's going to run a quick poll so we can gauge the take-up of Enterprise Edition across this audience. And after that, Martin will then look into tuning in more detail. Hayden, over to you.
Right, so the poll has now been launched. We'll give you guys about a minute to answer. Bear Bear with. Brilliant. I can see most of you have voted. We're just waiting on a few more people. Okay. Okay, fantastic. I'll close that poll now and I will share it with everybody. You should be able to see the answers there. There we are. I'll hand back over to you, Martin.
Thank you, Hayden. So in this part of the talk, I want to introduce you to the concept of the object tuning methodology. So let's first of all just talk about the traditional approach to how you go about SQL tuning. The traditional approach is to basically start with the worst statement that you can find, maybe either because you know it or you've done some analysis and it's come out at number one, or maybe just people tell you that it's the worst statement. And in the ideal situation, you would rather add an index to that code, to that SQL, rather than modifying the code, because it would save on testing. If you have to modify the code within the application, then that's got to go through a whole release cycle, whereas potentially anyway, with an index, it's a much more constrained change and therefore much more quick to implement. But the thing is though, if you add a new index on a top statement, that may affect other statements, either positively or negatively. And even if you do add one index to your worst statement, that index may not be optimal across a range of statements. So ideally what you want to be able to do is to think holistically. So let's walk through the process. So here I've ranked all the queries in my database, or my workload, whichever, by effort time expended by Oracle. This is my definition of worst. So it doesn't matter how many executions there were, one or many, it's the total cumulative time, response time, that's important. So as you can see here, statement one, across the top there, took what, 110-ish seconds to run. And that may be one execution, that may be many executions. And then statement two comes in below it and so on. And I've just shown the top 10 statements here, but in a typical environment, what you see is a sort of an exponential decline with a long tail, with statements 11 going on to whatever off down the bottom of the screen, which I've not shown here. So this is my list of untuned statements. And following the traditional pattern, I'm going to look at the top statement, and I'm going to hopefully find an index that I can add to this statement that's going to reduce its cumulative execution time. So you can see there the arrow on the green bar at the top is hopefully going to reduce, and if I'm lucky, actually statement number one will no longer be number one. It'll have gone down the charts somewhere and be replaced by statement two. But what about the fourth statement in this one, the one I've highlighted in red? I have this nagging feeling that it also accesses the same table or same set of tables that statement one does. What am I going to do with that? What if it's an update statement or an insert statement? If I add a new index for statement one, am I going to make some other statement take longer because it's got to maintain an extra index? So I have the bad feeling about all of this, that I may just be storing up trouble for myself as I work my way down the list. Now I mentioned adding indexes to tables. So what about if we actually ranked by table, in particular the performance of each table? So here now I can see that statement one, my worst one, and statement